Hello and welcome to week one of this course. This week we're going to be looking at the history of social work and social welfare, as well as really taking a look at our strengths, taking a look at what makes social work unique, what social workers do, and also starting to reflect on our own self-awareness. One of the things I didn't cover in the introductory video was that one of the key concepts of this course and other courses throughout the BSW program is to really take a look at yourself, to really explore who you are, what values you hold, because as we explore throughout this the next few weeks, we will look at social work values, look at the code of ethics, and how that influences the work that we do. So I want to get started with the devotional. One of the things that it takes a look at is looking at our strengths. So the question itself is, what are your special God-given gifts, and how can you use those to serve others? And looking at that as a strength. One of the things, just a note that I put down here, is that it's important to remember your strengths, because in our jobs as social workers, we can get worn down both emotionally and spiritually. When working with diverse populations in the generalist practice, and it can be tough. So I encourage you to think about, these things, because they'll really come in handy on days when you get frustrated and your emotional level is on empty. So self-care is also important. I would say self-care is definitely important, not only when you become a full-time social worker, but also as you're going through this course. I remember when I was going through for my bachelor's degree and master's degree, I had, one child as I started with my bachelor's degree. And then by the time I finished my master's degree, we had a newborn, which was our third. So self-care is definitely important. Then looking at discussion 1.2, a few things that I want to point out in chapter 1 is, in pages 2 and 3, it talks about what makes social work unique. There are a lot of different helping professions. There's, social justice, anthropology, sociology, all these different types of social sciences, psychology. But one of the things I think that makes social work unique is the approach that we take, looking at the ecological and the person and the environment and how that affects who we are as a person. So page 4, NASW developed a working definition of social work in 1973. I think it's important to kind of look at what does that look like to be a social worker. A lot of people are called social workers. However, without the degree, it really kind of defines who we are. And then really page 6 and 7 looks at what social workers do, looks at case management, looks at direct practice, community organization, things of that nature. So looking at that for discussion 2, and making sure to post responses on other people's comments as well. And just one note, in order to get full credit, you definitely have to submit the post before the 4th day, so before Sunday night. And then at least one reply by the end of the workshop, so one reply back to another colleague in your classmates. So looking at Dropbox 1.3, Chapter 2 works through the history of social work profession. The early days of the profession were designed out of grassroots organizations that help support immigrants and women's rights. The New Deal, which came around, FDR, implemented the New Deal through the Great Depression in the 1930s. This really brought about the first legislation that dealt with social welfare in America. So before that, it was really a lot of grassroots. You'll look at the Elizabethan poor laws, the church really taking care of individuals, and so that was kind of one of the things that was called within our country. So before the Great Depression, there really wasn't any legislation enacted that assisted individuals. Journal 1.4 is going to take a look at shaming. So clients negotiate how to handle situations that are outside of their control, validation, affirming their dignity and worth. So that comes out of I'm sorry, I lost my notes. So that comes out of the video, looking at forms of oppression and discrimination. So one of the things that the identify social network, looking at biases. Do you think the social worker fairly addresses his client's concerns without bias or discrimination? Yes or no? So kind of looking at some of these different things that goes on in the video for the journal, and then the quiz is due by Wednesday night. So good luck with your first week. Definitely feel free to email me. Let me know if you have any comments or concerns or questions. I'm here to help guide you through this process. So best of luck, and hopefully this video helped. Thanks.